Hi, everyone. I want to begin with a question. Have you ever felt like something inside you is working against the very future you're trying to create? As if no matter how much clarity you gain, no matter how deeply you desire a new reality, there is a subtle inner pull dragging you back into the person you used to be? Most people think change fails because they don't know the right method or the right mindset. But the truth is far more intimate. Most people fail because they try to build a new future while their body is still calibrated to their past. They try to step into expansion while carrying the emotional chemistry of survival. They try to become a new version of themselves while waking up every morning as the old one. In today's video, we're going to explore something deeper than manifestation tips, deeper than mindset shifts, and far deeper than positive thinking. We're going to expose the 7 mistakes that quietly sabotage 99% of people who are trying to change their reality. These mistakes are subtle, they're biological, they're energetic, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Because when you understand how your brain, your body, and your electromagnetic field work together, everything changes. You begin to recognize why your intentions, no matter how strong, cannot override misalignment. You begin to see the hidden war between who you've been and who you're becoming. And most importantly, you begin to reclaim the power to shift timelines from within. So, as you watch this video, stay with yourself. Notice what resonates. Notice which patterns feel too familiar. These 7 mistakes are not obstacles, they're mirrors. And once you see them, you can break them. And before you leave this video, I want you to share in the comments which one of the 7 mistakes resonated the most with you, because awareness is the first step toward transformation. If you want to go deeper into this work and truly understand how your brain, your heart, and your energy field shape your personal reality, I recommend reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's the perfect next step if you're ready to rewire your identity, elevate your emotional frequency, and align with a new future. The link is in the first pinned comment. Let's begin. 1. The invisible war between your old identity and your future self. Hi everyone. I want to begin with a question. Have you ever tried to change your life only to feel as if something inside you quietly pulled you back into who you used to be? For years, I thought change was about making a decision, setting an intention, or mentally choosing a new path. But the deeper I went into this work, the more I learned that transformation has very little to do with the conscious mind. It has everything to do with the emotional chemistry your body is addicted to. Most people fail before they even begin because they try to create a new reality while living in the internal world of their past. They wake up each morning and immediately reconnect to yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's feelings, and yesterday's identity. And without realizing it, they are already broadcasting the same frequency that created their current circumstances. Neuroscience explains this as the moment when your brain returns to the familiar neural networks wired by repetition. Quantum principles say the same thing in a different language. You cannot create a future while sending the electromagnetic signature of your past into the field. Your intention may say, "I want change," but your energy whispers, "I am still the same." And the body listens to energy more than words. When I first began studying this, I noticed something subtle in my own life. Every time I tried to make a significant shift, whether financially, emotionally, or spiritually, I felt a strange internal friction. It was not fear, it was familiarity. It was the quiet pull of an identity I had lived in for years. My past self knew how to survive. It knew how to predict life. It knew how to stay safe. And the brain loves what is predictable, even when predictable is painful. Your old identity is not just a concept. It is a biological program. Repeated thoughts create neural pathways. Repeated emotions become memorized states of being. And with enough repetition, the body learns the past so deeply that it begins to operate as if the past is the only possible reality. This is why research shows that by the time most people are in their mid-30s, they are living almost entirely from subconscious programs. 95% of who they think they are is not who they consciously want to be, but who their body has memorized them to be. This is the invisible war, a future you want with your mind and a past your body refuses to release. Your old identity speaks in the language of habits, impulses, emotional reactions, and automatic thoughts. And every time you step into a new intention, your body checks its memory and asks, "Is this who we are?" If the answer is no, it pulls you back into the emotional home it knows. This is why people say things like, "I'm trying so hard to change, but nothing shifts." It is not because they lack discipline. It is because they are trying to create a new reality with the emotional materials of the old one. Quantum principles reveal something important. Your energy is your message to the field. Your thoughts send a signal out. Your emotions draw the reality back. If your thoughts belong to the future, but your emotions belong to the past, your signal becomes incoherent. You ask for one thing, but your frequency broadcasts another. Real transformation begins when you stop living from memory and start living from possibility. That is the foundation of this entire video. You cannot become your future self while waking up as your past self. You cannot step into abundance while feeling lack. You cannot create love while embodying fear. You cannot change realities while carrying the emotional residue of the one you are trying to leave. And this is not about perfection. It is about awareness. When you understand the mechanics behind identity, emotion, and the subconscious body, you recognize that the first step in transformation is not setting new goals. It is breaking the energetic bond with the person you no longer want to be. This is where neuroscience and spirituality finally meet. The brain cannot create new neural pathways if the body keeps firing the old emotions. And the quantum field cannot reflect a new outcome if your energy is anchored to old chemistry. Your future is not created by what you want. It is created by who you decide to be in the present moment. This first block is the foundation. Before we look at the 7 mistakes most people make when trying to change their reality, you must understand the battlefield. The challenge is not outside of you. The resistance is not fate, luck, or the universe ignoring your intentions. The resistance is internal. It is the familiar identity fighting for survival. And this leads us into the next block, where we begin uncovering the exact mistakes that keep you stuck looping the same version of your life, even when you want something completely different. 2. The first 3 mistakes: mental, emotional, and behavioral misalignment. The first place where almost everyone gets stuck is in the invisible gap between what they want and what they actually feel. And this gap is not subtle. It's a biological, electromagnetic, emotional fracture that quietly determines what becomes possible and what remains repetitive. Most people don't realize that their bodies have been trained through years of experience to live in survival chemistry. And when they finally decide to change their reality, they try to do it using only the mind. But the body is still living yesterday. The nervous system is still firing the same programs. The emotional signatures are still memorized. And so nothing truly shifts. That's exactly where the first 3 mistakes appear. They form the core misalignment that stops 99% of people from moving forward. Mistake number 1, thinking positive while feeling negative in the body. Most people try to change their reality on the surface. They repeat affirmations. They visualize a better life. They speak about abundance. They try to be positive. But they do all of this while carrying the emotional chemistry of fear, frustration, doubt, and inadequacy in their bodies. The mind is saying one thing, but the electromagnetic field is saying the opposite. And the field always responds to the signal of the body, not the sentences of the mind. From a neurological perspective, the brain can think a new thought, but if the body has been conditioned into stress hormones for years, it rejects that new thought as unrealistic. The body whispers, "This isn't safe. This isn't familiar." So the person can think abundance while their body radiates scarcity. They can think healing while their body radiates fear. They can think possibility while their body radiates the memory of disappointment. The mismatch creates incoherence, and incoherence collapses manifestation. Dr. Joe always says, the brain and the heart must speak the same emotional language. Until your emotions match your intentions, you're broadcasting two contradictory frequencies into the quantum field. One of them always wins, and unfortunately, it's the familiar one, the emotional signature your body trusts the most. Mistake number 2, trying to change reality intellectually without shifting emotional frequency. This mistake is even deeper. Many people understand the concepts, they study the science, they know about neuroplasticity, the quantum field, coherence, elevated emotions, and visualization. They have all the information, but information without emotional elevation does nothing. You cannot outspeak or outthink the frequency you are living. The quantum field responds to emotion, not logic. It responds to energy, not theory. It responds to the electromagnetic signature of who you are being, not what you are learning. So what happens? The person tries to create a new reality by thinking about it, but their emotions are still anchored in survival. Their heart is still closed. Their nervous system is still anticipating the familiar. Their cells are still addicted to the chemistry of the past. As a result, their intellectual understanding becomes a form of spiritual entertainment. They know what needs to be done, but the energy never shifts. In survival chemistry, cortisol, adrenaline, stress, the brain narrows its focus. Possibilities disappear. Creativity collapses. Intuition shuts down. The person becomes obsessed with the known, and from that emotional frequency, the future cannot emerge. To truly change reality, the emotional state must be elevated beyond the predictable. Gratitude, love, coherence, expansion. These emotions unlock the quantum field. They create an electromagnetic signature that matches the future you desire. Without them, nothing moves. Mistake number 3. Waking up every day as the same identity that created the current circumstances. This mistake is subtle but powerful. Every morning, most people wake up into the same emotional reality they lived the day before. They remember who they were. They recall their problems. They feel the same emotions. Their brains begin firing the same networks. Their bodies begin releasing the same chemistry. And within minutes, the past is recreated. The same identity installs itself. The same behaviors follow. The same decisions appear. And life repeats. Identity is a loop, a biological habit, a memorized pattern of thoughts, emotions, reactions, and expectations. And if the identity doesn't change, the reality cannot change. Neural memorization keeps the person tied to predictable behaviors. Survival hormones keep the mind focused on what they don't want, and their energy signature becomes a carbon copy of yesterday. Dr. Joe always reminds us that your personality creates your personal reality. If the personality stays identical, the reality stays identical. You cannot wake up as the past and expect the future to arrive. This is why so many people feel stuck. Their desires belong to their future self, but their emotions and behaviors belong to their past self. They want a better life while being biologically addicted to the emotional chemistry of the old identity. And the quantum field reads that mismatch instantly. Desire does not create. Frequency does. When the viewer begins to understand this, something shifts. They begin to see that manifestation is not about wanting more. It's about becoming more. It's about coherence, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors moving in the same energetic direction, not the fractured polarity most people live in. This block is the turning point. It reveals the truth behind why desire alone changes nothing, why the mind alone changes nothing, why positivity alone changes nothing. Transformation happens when the brain, the body, and the field align, when the intention matches the emotion, when the energy matches the identity, when coherence replaces contradiction. Only then does the future begin to respond. 3. The next 3 mistakes: energetic resistance and quantum interference. There is a moment in every transformation journey when the real battle begins, not with the outside world, but with the invisible energetic patterns inside you. Patterns that don't shout, but whisper. Patterns that quietly collapse your electromagnetic field, distort your intuition, and interrupt the coherence required for reality to reorganize around you. In this block, we explore the next 3 mistakes that almost everyone makes without realizing. They are subtle, internal, and deeply rooted in the subconscious. And because they feel familiar, most people never question them. They think these responses are normal, when in truth, they are energetic signatures that tell the quantum field you are not yet ready for the version of reality you are trying to create. To anchor this, I want to share something from my experience. I remember a phase in my life when I was doing everything right. I was meditating, journaling, visualizing, reading all the books, watching all the mentors, but nothing moved. Everything stayed the same, and I couldn't understand why. It was only when I witnessed these 3 mistakes in myself that I realized I was not blocked by the world. I was blocked by the frequency I was sending into it. And that changed everything. Now, let's move into the next signs. Mistake number 4, feeling unworthy, the collapse of your electromagnetic field. This is one of the most powerful mistakes, not because it's loud, but because it's subtle. Most people don't wake up saying, "I feel unworthy." Instead, the feeling hides inside micro-behaviors, apologizing for wanting more, shrinking when an opportunity appears, doubting every intuitive pull. Unworthiness is not a thought, it's a frequency, and frequencies broadcast constantly. From a neuroscience lens, unworthiness is tied to memorized patterns of self-evaluation. The brain gathers emotional evidence from childhood, failures, and past experiences and encodes a baseline self-image. This baseline determines what feels normal to receive. So even when someone visualizes a better life, their body still operates from a self-concept that cannot sustain it. Dr. Joe always explains that your electromagnetic field expands when you feel whole, when you feel enough, when you feel deserving. But the moment you think, "Who am I to receive this?" the field collapses inward. The signal weakens. You stop broadcasting possibility and start broadcasting fear. And the quantum field can only reflect what you broadcast. There was a moment in my life when I manifested something I truly wanted, and then lost it almost immediately. At the time, I didn't see the pattern, but now I do. I wasn't a vibrational match to keeping what I had called in. My identity didn't believe I was someone who could hold that level of abundance, so my nervous system sabotaged it. Not through dramatic actions, but through small decisions, avoidance, hesitation, and resistance. Unworthiness doesn't block you because you don't deserve it. It blocks you because you don't embody the emotional state of someone who can hold what they desire. And that's where the interference begins. Mistake number 5, comparing your progress, reinforcing separation and scarcity. Comparison is not just a mindset mistake, it is an energetic leak. When you compare your timing, your results, or your journey to someone else's, you create an emotional contraction in your field. You shift from expansion to separation, from possibility to scarcity. And the quantum field responds to signals, not intentions. Neurobiologically, comparison activates the brain's evaluative circuits. These circuits evolved to help us assess social belonging and threat. But in the modern world, they pull you out of your creative center and into survival mode. Survival mode shuts down intuition, reduces creativity, and weakens the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for imagining a new future. Energetically, comparison tells the field, I don't have enough, I'm behind, I'm separate from abundance. And the field mirrors that frequency back to you. I used to fall into this trap frequently. I would look at others who were growing faster, manifesting more, or reaching milestones I desired. Every time I did, my energy contracted. I didn't realize that comparison was a form of scarcity, not just mentally, but electromagnetically. The moment I stopped looking outward and started tuning inward, my manifestations accelerated. Because your power does not increase when you look at others. It increases when you return to yourself. Comparison is the illusion that someone else's timeline has anything to do with yours, and it never does. Mistake number 6, forcing outcomes, blocking synchronicity and trust. This is one of the most common mistakes people make when trying to change their reality. They try to force things, force clarity, force progress, force signs, force results. But force is a frequency of fear, and fear is incompatible with creation. When you try to control every step, you communicate to the quantum field that you don't trust it. You communicate that you don't believe things are unfolding. You communicate that you think you must compensate with effort because the universe is not supporting you. This resistance creates interference, the energetic static that blocks synchronicities, opportunities, and intuitive action. Neuroscience shows that forcing activates the sympathetic nervous system. It increases cortisol, contracts the muscles, narrows perception, and limits access to the higher brain. You stop being creative. You stop seeing possibilities. You enter tunnel vision. And tunnel vision is the opposite of expanded awareness, the state where manifestations occur. Dr. Joe teaches that creation happens in the unknown, in the unpredictable space where the mind relaxes its grip and allows the energy of possibility to reorganize matter. Forcing pulls you out of this space entirely. I remember trying to force a result that I wanted desperately. I pushed, planned, controlled, and micromanaged every step. And the more I forced, the further it moved away from me. The breakthrough came the moment I surrendered, not give up, surrendered. Meaning, I returned to the emotion of the outcome, not the anxiety of the process. And that is when synchronicity appeared, instantly, effortlessly, and in a way I could not have predicted. The universe responds to coherence, not pressure. As we close this block, the viewer begins to understand something profound. These mistakes are not about failure. They are about frequency. And frequency is something you can shift in a single moment of awareness. Because when you change what you broadcast, the quantum field has no choice but to reflect a different reality back to you. This prepares us for the final mistake, the one that sits beneath all others, and the one that ultimately determines whether your future becomes real or remains potential. 4. The final mistake. Rehearsing failure instead of embodying the future. There is one mistake that almost no one realizes they're making. A mistake so deeply woven into the nervous system that it feels natural, logical, even responsible. And yet, it is the one mistake that silently destroys manifestations before they are even born. The truth is, most people are not blocked because they doubt the techniques, or because they can't visualize, or because they have no clarity. They are blocked because their body is rehearsing a future they do not want, a future based on the predictable emotions of the past. And that leads us to the final, most pervasive mistake. Mistake number 7, expecting things not to work out, mentally rehearsing disappointment. This mistake is the invisible sabotage that 99% of people never see. It happens quietly, automatically, and biologically. Most people wake up and, without realizing, emotionally predict failure. They rehearse disappointment before the day even begins. They see a possibility and instantly imagine what could go wrong. They take a step forward and instantly prepare for the setback. They feel excited and then shut it down with caution. They want to believe, but their body remembers what it felt like to be disappointed, ignored, or unsupported in the past. And because the body remembers, it tries to protect them by expecting the worst. From a neuroscience perspective, this is the survival brain doing what it was designed to do: anticipate danger, track patterns, and prepare for emotional pain before it happens. The amygdala scans the environment for familiar threats. The nervous system compares new experiences with old memories. The body begins rehearsing defensive emotions before the mind is even conscious of it. From a quantum perspective, this is devastating because expectation is a frequency. And when the expectation is disappointment, the electromagnetic field collapses inward. Instead of broadcasting possibility, you broadcast fear. Instead of signaling expansion, you signal contraction. The field stops organizing around your highest timeline because your body is broadcasting the vibration of your lowest one. I have lived this mistake more times than I care to admit. I would begin a project with excitement, but somewhere inside, a part of me was already preparing for things not to work, preparing for delays, preparing for rejection, preparing for the same stagnation I had experienced before. I wasn't visualizing failure consciously, but emotionally, I was rehearsing it. I was creating a future based on the familiar pain of the past. And what I didn't understand yet was that the quantum field responds not to what you hope, but to what you expect. Expectation is the emotional blueprint of your future. It is the internal instruction you send out into the field. When you expect the worst, you rehearse the worst. When you rehearse the worst, you embody the worst. When you embody the worst, you manifest the worst. This is why people stay stuck, not because their desires are weak, but because their expectations are louder. But there is a way to shift this pattern, and it begins with understanding what your body is truly doing. The body does not prepare for failure because you are broken or because you are negative. It prepares for failure because it prefers the familiar over the unknown, even if the familiar hurts, even if the familiar is painful, even if the familiar is the life you're trying to leave behind. The emotional chemistry of the past becomes an addiction. The body craves what it recognizes because what it recognizes feels safe, even when it's harmful. So when you begin to create a new future, you are not fighting your circumstances. You are fighting your biology. Your body is not used to joy. It is not used to abundance. It is not used to possibility. It is not used to expansion. So when you try to step into these elevated states, the body pulls you back into emotional survival, the place where disappointment feels predictable. But the moment you recognize this, you gain your power back. Because you can't change what you're not aware of. Awareness is the first moment of liberation. And awareness reveals the path out. The transformation pathway, from rehearsing failure to embodying the future self. The final part of this block is the shift, the step-by-step internal transformation that turns the future from a concept into a frequency. This pathway is not philosophical. It is biological. It is energetic. It is scientific and it is spiritual. When these elements align, reality reorganizes. 1. Elevated emotion. You begin by generating the emotion of the future before it arrives. This is how you signal the quantum field. Elevated emotion is the proof to your body that a new timeline exists. When you feel gratitude, freedom, abundance, or joy before the physical evidence, the body begins learning a new emotional blueprint. 2. Rehearsing a new identity. Then you imagine yourself acting, thinking, and responding as the future version of you. You rehearse confidence. You rehearse courage. You rehearse worthiness. You rehearse abundance. You teach your brain that these behaviors are normal, familiar, safe. Identity creation always precedes reality creation. 3. Coherence. Next, you align thought and emotion. This is the moment your electromagnetic field expands. Coherence is the union of intention and vibration. It is the signature of manifestation. Without coherence, desire is nothing but mental noise. 4. Presence. You enter the present moment, the only gateway to the quantum field. When you leave the past emotionally, you stop recreating it. When you stop anticipating disappointment, the future becomes fluid again. 5. Energetic alignment. Finally, you embody the energy of the person you want to become, not occasionally, but repeatedly. Not when things go right, but precisely when they don't. That is when alignment becomes real. Because reality does not change when you think differently. Reality changes when you become the version of yourself you keep postponing. The block closes here with a truth both mystical and neuroscientific. Your future begins the moment your body stops rehearsing the past. When the emotional addiction to disappointment ends, the quantum field reorganizes. When your identity shifts, your timeline shifts. And when your frequency changes, your reality has no choice but to change with it. Before you leave, take a moment to reflect on what you felt in your body as you moved through these 7 mistakes. Awareness is the moment the old identity loses power. So share in the comments which mistake you recognized in yourself today and what small shift you're committing to from this moment on. Test it in your own life and come back to tell me what you noticed. If you want to go deeper into this work and truly understand how your brain, your heart, and your energy field shape your personal reality, I recommend reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's the perfect next step if you're ready to rewire your identity, elevate your emotional frequency, and align with a new future. The link is in the first pinned comment.